What's going on, everyone? Thanks so much for tuning in to another episode of the Ducks Dish podcast. I'm your host, Max Torres with Scoop Duck on 3, coming to you on Friday, September 5th, 2025. We are just under 24 hours away from number 6 Oregon against the Oklahoma State Cowboys over there in beautiful Eugene, Oregon at Autzen Stadium, scheduled for a 12:30 p.m. kick Pacific time. And if you can't make it out to Eugene for that one, you can watch it on CBS. It's going to be a fun game. Got some really good broadcasters on this one. Brad Nessler and Gary Danielson will be on the call. So it's shaping up to be a beautiful week 2 of the college football slate. Glad to have you guys here for the pod. I'm not rolling solo. I'm joined by Scoop Duck owner and publisher Justin Hopkins. J-Hop, are you ready for some football?
Yeah, I'm always ready for some football. And here's a hard truth or a hard reality. After after this weekend, we're 1/6 of the way through the football season. So you guys better be cherishing these Saturdays. But I thought you made a good point there a second ago. I'm pretty excited to have this game telecast on CBS. I mean, those guys are the best. It'll be nice to hear like a really good broadcast and get to enjoy it in that way. I haven't decided yet. I'm trying to talk my wife into going to the game tomorrow. She's giving me some pushback. So I'm trying to go to the game tomorrow. Still haven't figured it out yet. If I don't go, still going to enjoy the broadcast.
Yeah, the Gary Danielson and oh my God, I'm already blanking on his name. I'll pull it back up. Nessler. Sorry. Gary Danielson and Nessler is like the Herb Street Fowler combo equivalent, I think, for CBS. We'll see if we get a game from Gus this year with him on the call for the Ducks. But I'm just excited to see this game, Justin. Get another sample size for the Ducks. Obviously, they had that huge 59-13 win over Montana State to open up the 2025 season. But it really felt like we could only glean so much. Higher level FCS team for sure. But this is a step up in talent, even if Oklahoma State isn't looking like the strongest team in the world. Commanding win last week over UT Martin, but in the same vein, it was UT Martin. So not a whole lot to write home about. There's been a whole lot spoken about this game, and it feels like it's all about the off the field stuff lately with, Mike Gundy kind of taking jabs at Oregon and their investment in the football program, but then also saying, hey, I was being really complimentary and like they're a great team. And I don't know, to me, it just kind of felt like he was, digging his grave a little bit and maybe putting the cart before the horse and saying, hey, if we lose on Saturday, it's because, they have so much resources. But what did you make of all that?
Yeah, I mean, I do think there was a little bit of that. I think he backtracked, like you said, a little bit out of that just to say, hey, no, I credit Oregon for pouring, their resources into their football team, basically trying to get Oklahoma State to do the same. But yeah, I mean, I think he was shooting a little bit from the hip there at the beginning and then figured out a way to kind of posture it a little bit better or a little bit safer, if you will. And so, no, we'll just have to see. I mean, because this is a pretty rare time that we saw Dan actually clap back, which he doesn't normally do. He normally lets that stuff kind of go, but obviously he did have a little bit to say on the matter as well, at least on Monday. I'm sure these two guys will get together on Saturday and figure it out and handshake. They're professionals, regardless of what they said this week. But yeah, I mean, I don't know for what I get. Oklahoma State fans, I guess, been talking mad shit on Twitter and social media stuff too, because I've been kind of looking at that, and Duck fans are retweeting a lot of the stuff or clapping back at Oklahoma State fans. So I don't know. I wasn't expecting that. It just wasn't really on my radar. And here all week I'm watching like, oh, I guess this fan base is a little spicy, huh? So it's been kind of fun to watch that play out too.
Well, let's stay there for a second. You talked about Lanning clapping back, which isn't something that he usually does. And let's also, be transparent here. It's not like he just took the mic and was like, let me talk about Mike Gundy. He was asked a question, from our guy James over there at the Oregonian, and it was just kind of asked for any kind of a response. And I think that it's just been so interesting to watch how Lanning kind of navigates himself in the media and picks his spot when he really wants to kind of, talk his game, I guess, for lack of a better phrase. And I know that some of our readers over on Scoop Duck have been talking about how like it just feels like he's got maybe a different level of confidence about him in these media availabilities that we've been able to take in through the first week or so of the season. Like, do you think that that's maybe reading into it too much? Or, I mean, because you watch these press conferences just as much as I do. It feels like he's talking like someone who knows he's got something special.
Yeah, I think that week one game gave him that little pep in the step that you're talking about, because he wasn't really doing it too much before the game. And of course, he knows, just like the rest of us, that that was Montana State, right? But I mean, they went back and watched film all week, and could see that, like, hey, these guys are making plays. This might be the team that we thought we had in the fall here. And some pieces are going to have to go the right way. We know they're still young. We know that when they face Penn State and Iowa and some of these other upper end programs, they're going to be challenged. But I think that game one gave him just a little bit more swagger than he was walking into that game with, just after seeing what his team did and how they played and how effective they were. So I don't blame him for it. I like to see that moxie, and hopefully, I mean, here's the deal. Vegas got Oregon at like a 28-point favorite, and they know something, right? Vegas doesn't just make those odds so they can throw it at the wall. They've got money on the line. So when you see a 28-point, underdog, that an ass whooping is likely coming.
Oregon and Oklahoma State will meet this weekend for just the second time, Justin, in program history. The last time the Ducks and the Cowboys clashed was in the 2008 Holiday Bowl down my way in beautiful San Diego. That was a game that Oregon won 42-31, but you said it there, Justin. Oregon enters this game against the Cowboys as overwhelming favorites in the eyes of Vegas. So I think you're hoping to see a little bit more of the same from last week. Clean execution, not a lot of penalties, taking what the defense gives you if you're Will Stein evaluating Dante Moore and the rest of this Oregon offense. I know you had a story, a premium story over on Scoop Duck a little bit earlier this week, kind of saying what you wanted to see from the Ducks this week. So I'll just kind of pose that question to you here. I don't know if it's more of the same or if any new thoughts have kind of come into your mind, but what are you thinking there?
Yeah, just I mean, play a good game, play a clean game. Don't make mistakes, don't make more penalties. That was a really bright spot, I thought, from week one. That hey, there wasn't a lot of offensive line penalties. There wasn't a lot of penalties in general. I think just 3 total against Oregon. Didn't turn over the football. Dante Moore was pretty clear and concise with the ball when he was throwing it. The run game was obviously effective and working. There's nothing you should have to change if you're Dan Lanning to beat Oklahoma State if you're going to play similar to that level against Montana State. So, I'm sure that they went to practice this week and had some things on film that they saw they wanted to clean up. And again, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? You don't need to overhaul anything. No massive changes, just make your necessary tweaks here and there. And again, just looking for them to keep that level of effort. I think one of the things that we've all talked about, the Decorian Moore block into the end zone, but those were the little things that we saw. Brandon Finney came all the way across the field on a drag route there to make a tackle against Montana State. Those were just the little things that were all effort play. Weren't really a catch or a run or anything like that, or a hurdle. Those were just effort plays that I think we saw across the board. So there's nothing that massive that you need to fix. Just go and do more of the same. Dan Lanning says this a lot, right? Like, keep the main thing the main thing. To me, that's the main thing. Like, look, you showcased a really solid performance in week one. Just go do it again. And hopefully that's what we see against Oklahoma State.
I know for me, Justin, there's a couple of things that I'm looking for and looking forward to, and it starts with the defense, right? One of the things that we know about this Oklahoma State team is that they love to sling the rock. They want to push the ball downfield. They want to, push you vertically. We didn't really get to see how the Oregon secondary responded to that last week against Montana State, even though they did end up passing more than they ran. It wasn't like these were a lot of long developing plays, over the middle or what have you. So I'm excited to see how this young secondary responds. Kind of on that note, it sounds like Theron Johnson is expected to be back with the Ducks this week. Was held out of last week's game. Lanning kind of alluded to him being able to go, but they didn't want to push it. So they're always a little bit better safe than sorry when it comes to managing injuries. Will that mean that we see him start in place of maybe Ife Obidegu or Brandon Finney Jr.? I'm not too sure. I mean, the intel that I had kind of been reporting on Scoop Duck maybe suggested that Theron was going to start over Iffy. But, I mean, you got to be happy with what Iffy did in his first start as a Duck, no doubt. And then for for the secondary, I want to see maybe some PBUs. I want to see disruption. I want to see active hands, batted down balls, and some takeaways if you can. I don't think that this is an elite wide receiver core. You're looking at Terrell Williams as their main threat. That was kind of their go-to guy in game one against UT Martin. But I'm just really excited to see how the secondary responds, and obviously with that, how it works in tandem with the pass rush from that front seven.
Yeah, I don't know that we really got to see much from Dylan Thieneman in game one, and that's okay. It wasn't like he did anything wrong. It just he wasn't tested, and I don't know that he'll be tested a whole lot this year. But it'll be nice to see some of those guys, like you said. It'll be nice to see Finney and Efi and get Theron Johnson's feet wet, assuming he's back, which we both believe he will be. Kind of seeing those guys, work on their back pedal and working together a little deeper in the secondary. Because like you said, they weren't pushed at all against Montana State. The game plan for Oregon was very clear. Let's keep everything close and in front of us and at the line of scrimmage and make sure we take away the run. And, like you said, with Oklahoma State, they're not going to be run heavy or run focused like Montana State was. So, and conversely, that gives, I know they ended up with 3, but it'll give Mateo and the rest of those guys a chance to eat too. They can go get after the quarterback. Obviously, when you're doing like shorter slants or crossing routes, which is what Montana State did when they were passing the ball, which wasn't a lot, that's not a lot of time to get after the quarterback. So hopefully this time, if their quarterback is dropping back and making longer passes, that gives the defensive line, edge players, linebackers a little bit more of a chance to, blitz and get after the quarterback. So maybe we can see what those guys are capable to do as well. So yeah, exciting matchup and just a little different matchup. And it'll be interesting to see how Oregon responds to those differences.
Another availability note, injury update, if you will. Sounds like the Ducks are going to get Emmanuel Pregnon back in the lineup. Whether he starts or not, we're not totally sure. But if he's good to go, I think that we would probably expect him to start at that left guard spot. That was one of the big takeaways, I think, from game one, Justin, was just how the offensive line responded to and navigated that injury with Dave Iuli sliding over to left guard and Matt Bedford coming in at right guard. Seems like Kavika Rogers, who's kind of nursing an ankle injury, is questionable. We didn't get a whole lot of clarity aside from that. They're still trying to figure that out, but that's kind of the update on that side of the ball as far as the O-line goes. On the offense, Justin, I think I'm really excited to see the running backs again and who shows up at wide receiver. I was writing about it yesterday on Scoop Duck. I don't think a lot of people expected Malik Benson to be the leading receiver, but he was. And then maybe we see DeCorey Moore get a little bit more involved down the field.
Yeah, I mean, Malik Benson was brought to Oregon for one reason. That was to stretch the field vertically. And I don't mean that's the only reason he's at Oregon, but that's one of his strengths of his game. And that's why Oregon brought him to Eugene. So maybe he doesn't have, 1,200 receiving yards this season, but you don't need it if he can stretch the field. I do think this is going to be a chance for DeCorey Moore to maybe get a little bit more involved in the offense. I know he wasn't left behind by any means, but I'm sure the staff went and looked at the film and saw not only the block that we've seen all over social media or whatever, he had a couple others as well on some of the run plays that sprung where he was, engaged with his defensive back, ultimately opening those lanes wide for the runners. So I think if you see a guy like that does that sort of, that sort of unselfish play that DeCorey Moore did, you're going to reward him, right? And so I think maybe Oregon gets him a little bit more involved with a little more catches this week, just to say, hey man, good job last week. Now go eat. And so I'm full. I'll be here for it. I know Duck fans will be here to see that too. And like you said, on the offense, the wide receiver group's probably the weak link on the offensive side. And I don't say it's necessarily a weak link, but it maybe has some room to grow. So this could be a really good game for them to grow. And then you can fine tune things, hopefully the next 2 weeks after that as well.
Duck fans, are you going to an Oregon game this season? Maybe you're heading to Eugene tomorrow. If you are, the Oakway Lifestyle Center at the corner of Oakway and Coburg is the destination for Duck fans. Whatever you're looking for, they've got it all. Get a bite to eat at Sun River Brewing or PF Chang's. Check out shops like Lululemon or Nordstrom Rack. Need a place to stay? Book your lodging at the Hyatt Place at Oakway Center and visit their rooftop bar. The Oakway Lifestyle Center is a walking distance from Autzen Stadium. has something for everybody, and is a great post-game place to celebrate another Duck victory. Max Torres and Justin Hopkins of Scoop Duck on 3 here with you on the Duck Dish podcast. Happy Friday, folks. We're less than 24 hours away from another Oregon football game day, the best day of the week. And Justin, we just got finished talking a little bit about the game, but let's hop into a little bit of Oregon recruiting headlines because it's a significantly bigger weekend for both Dan Lanning and Dana Altman when it comes to recruiting. I know you were doing some great writing for us earlier today before we hopped on here, so maybe I'll just toss it to you and let you run with it.
Yeah, not our normal forte, right, to cover a lot of basketball recruiting, but I think this weekend calls for it. Dana Altman, we were able to confirm with some sources, is expected to host 5 official visitors on campus this weekend. That's a pretty big group for basketball. Obviously not for football, but your roster size is much different between the two sports. So, pretty cool to see that they're able to do that. I'm going to read through the list real quick of a couple names. I won't read them all, but there's 5. The only 5-star that they're expected to have at least 5 stars under the Rivals industry ranking is forward Christian Collins out of California. So Christian Collins being a 5-star, like you can expect, he's got the normal heavyweights at, Kansas and Arizona and all the elite schools. Indiana are coming hard after him. So pretty cool for the Ducks to get him on campus and really showcase. We've noticed in the past that Dana Altman and the basketball staff has utilized football game weekends to really showcase, Eugene, Oregon. And I think that's a good play. You get those guys on campus and even though you're at the football game, you're still getting to see fan support, fan interaction, show them a good time. There's a really good vibe around the campus. It makes for a lot of fun. So it makes sense. One guy that I think a lot of folks have kind of talked about is Tay Kinney. He's a 4-star point guard, the number 15 player in the Rivals industry rankings. So making a visit to Oregon, has several official visits on deck. Once again, another guy that the staff would like to find there. You look at this roster right now for Dana Altman, and we know the big 3, right? We know there's Jackson Shelstad. We know that there's Kwame Evans. We know that there's Nate Biddle. And for all intents and purposes, this is probably their last year at Oregon for all 3, more than likely. So you've got some guys to replace. You need a point guard. You need that, kind of that swing forward or whatever you want to consider Kwame Evans. And you need that, interior post type center / power forward guy like Nate Biddle. So you can see that the staff is kind of bringing in some of those kinds of players to, hopefully, get them in. Last one I'll talk about here. The son of Trevor Ariza, who played in the NBA for, I believe, 15 plus years. His son, Taj, is also a 4-star. He's the number 17 ranked player, a forward. So just a couple spots behind Kinney that we were just talking about a moment ago. So, everybody that I have on the list out of the 5 players, all of them are top 50 players or better. So you've got a 5-star, you got a couple guys that are on the cusp of being 5 stars. And then the rest of the guys are not just some slaps down the list. They're top 50 players. So pretty cool weekend for basketball. I know you've got a few football guys coming to town as well. So just kind of a fun weekend for everybody. And it looks like the weather is going to cooperate.
We love it when the weather cooperates. The weather was cooperating with me a little bit down here in Long Beach earlier today. I know it's nothing compared to what you're experiencing up there, Justin, but we have gotten a crazy heat wave, for our standards in the past couple of weeks. So when you don't have air conditioning, you got to do what you can to navigate it and just, deal with the heat. We do have a little bit of, some football guys come in. If you guys are here on YouTube, you can see the screen, talking a little bit about the promo that we're running right now. Very exciting times over at Scoop Duck. You can join for just $1 to get your subscription started, and you'll even get a complimentary year of access to The Athletic. You get Pete Nakos, you get Steve Wiltfong, you get Chad Simmons, you get Chris Lowe, the big addition most recently here. So there's really no better place to be if you're a college football fan, if you're a recruiting fan. We really have it all, and we'd love for you to be a part of our community over at Scoop Duck. Really engaged message boards. You name it, we got it. To just touch on a couple of names here, Justin, that are expected in town. I think the biggest one is actually, I would say, a commit with 5-star edge rusher Anthony Tank Jones from Mobile, Alabama, making the cross-country trip to Oregon. his first time since committing to the Ducks this summer. And he also just visited Miami, which I think was a trip that kind of raised some eyebrows. Like, oh, wow, okay, he's popping up over there. That wasn't even a school in his top 3. And I think the other ones that you would maybe highlight would be David Jacobs, a 5-star edge rusher out of Georgia. And then one more that I would say is Osani Gales out of Bradenton, Florida, IMG Academy. He's a high-end wide receiver that's originally from Northern California. So you see guys playing at those powerhouse programs, but they're originally from out west. I think you feel a little bit better about Oregon's chances.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Always kind of, it's weird when you look and you see, oh, Oregon's recruiting a kid from IMG Academy or whatever. It's like, that's a long shot. Like, actually, the kid grew up in California or LA or Seattle or wherever they're from. So that makes a huge difference. And like you said, I think, the one point I want to make is getting Tank Jones back on campus is big, right? I mean, obviously, so popped up at Miami. We know they're willing to spend money on certain players, which I'm not accusing them of anything. That's just recruiting now. We need to talk about this stuff openly. So you definitely have to watch Miami and what they're willing to do there. And, for Oregon, you get them back on campus, maybe get things settled back down or whatever the case might be. And just, I've always said this, and I know back in the day, the recruiting calendar used to be so different that this is when your work was done in recruiting, and it's not that way now. But I do think your ability to kind of cement some things with some of your guys is key at this window. And I maintain, as I did back then, Oregon's best selling ability is a game atmosphere at Autzen Stadium on game day. Like it's always been that way. So, we saw that had an impact on Kayvon Thibodeau's recruitment. He even recalled that after, showing up at Oregon. I think that's the case with Tank Jones. I'm not putting him on flip watch, and I'm not pressing all those buttons. I'm just saying, when you can showcase a game atmosphere to one of your key commits, I just think it's a great thing. We should have great weather. The game should be fun. It's 12:30, which kind of sucks if you're a heavy tailgater like myself. You got to get up pretty early and you got to start cracking beers at 9 a.m., which I'm always open to do, by the way. But what it does make is, games done, say 3:30, whatever. You got the afternoon for the coaches to be able to interact with those guys, to go maybe take them to dinner and do some other things that you're not able to do when the game is at 4 p.m. or 7 p.m. or whatever, and you're having to basically get ready all day for the game. So some opportunity there for the staff to do some things after the game with recruits, with players and that kind of stuff.
The final note that I'll add here, Justin, and I think it can be on Tank Jones. I don't know if it's just me, but it feels like some of these flips are happening a lot earlier this year than I expected. So when you see some of these big flips to, I think, Tennessee and to Auburn, on the heels, I would say, with Tennessee going to Adidas, I mean, that definitely raises some eyebrows. So for Oregon to get one of their 4 5-star guys back on campus, when you know that program's a lot closer to him out in the Southeast, you're going to continue kind of sniffing around. I think that's really big. We're going to see some of these young guys probably showcased a bit more, I would think. At edge rusher, Nasir Wyatt got his first sack in his first college game last week. So that's great to see a true freshman, doing his thing early. And then maybe we see a bit more out of Elijah Rushing, who's also a former 5-star like Tank Jones. So I'm pretty excited for this weekend, Justin. I'll be at St. Francis Academy versus St. John Bosco tonight, the national game of the week. Number 2 Braves versus the number 4 Panthers. I think that's their mascot. But top 5 game in my backyard. I couldn't miss it. Have Oregon commit Dutch Horsk in action, and then a couple of other Oregon targets on both sides of the ball. So excited to be out there for our Scoop Duck subscribers.
Yeah, no, definitely one of the perks of being a Scoop Duck subscriber. We're the only one, only one in the market with somebody like you in a unique position to be able to do those things down in SoCal, where we know there's just a talent all over the place down there, and the Ducks love to set up shop in SoCal with recruiting. So I know you plugged the promo earlier, but again, the reason Max and I can do podcasts like this, which do not pay our bills, is because we get subscriptions on Scoop Duck and allow us to do that work and then do this as an auxiliary work with it. So make sure you guys are supporting us and just come and enjoy it. A lot of good Duck fans, but yeah, and best of all, Max gets to go watch, Oregon commits and targets in action, in live game action, and give you guys the feedback. So lots to love.
It's definitely one of my favorite parts of the job, Justin. I mean, I got to see Mateo do his thing in person down here in SoCal, and then now he's just absolutely tearing it up there in Eugene. So I guess you could say it's a full circle moment, but I love seeing them in high school, and then once they get their opportunity to shine at Oregon, it's a great time. But I think that'll do it for us, guys, on this episode. If you want to find more of Justin, tap in with him at JHopkinsSD. Find me anywhere at Torres Sports. Subscribe to the Scoop Duck on 3 YouTube channel. Subscribe to scoopduck.com. There's no better time than right now. And share the show with your friends, with your family, and with other Duck fans. But until next time, I hope everybody has a wonderful week 2 of college football, and we'll see you in the next episode of the Ducks Dish Podcast.